Apex Legends has a diverse roster of characters with a range of different abilities and personalities. Season 13 not only brought a new legend to the Battle Royale Festival, but a bunch of sweeping changes to existing characters to spice up strategies and instigate new tactics. You'll want to pick some of the better characters in this tier list if you're planning on climbing the Apex Legends rank ladder, but nothing is stopping you from trying with your favourite. If you enjoy a character more than another, just play them. Maybe rethink things though if you're going to be playing professionally. So here is our latest Apex Legends Legend tier list. Bloodhound has been a player favourite for a long time, not only because they're one of the original legends, but they also don't need to be unlocked. Their abilities to scan opponents and reveal enemy positions are just simply too good to give up, and any team will benefit from their wall hacks. Despite a slight nerf since their introduction, Bloodhound remains top of the pack. Their ultimate ability not only gives them a speed boost, but also means they can use their Eye of the Allfather tactical scan more frequently, perfect for pushing multiple teams and informing teammates of potential flanks. The ability to scan enemies so many times in such a small period is extremely strong. Bloodhound's passive isn't amazing, but there are other abilities more than make up for it, and there's also the added bonus as a recon character they can scan survey beacons to gain that sweet ring knowledge too. Wraith sometimes gets a bad rep from other players, but for the many toxic Wraiths you'll run into, you'll also meet some incredibly skilled teammates. She's best used as a forward scout due to her tactical ability Into the Void, which allows her to disappear and reappear nearby. Wraith gets a bad name due to many Wraith mains being notorious for going off on their own and quitting out of the game, rather than waiting to get respawned when they're inevitably downed. However, that doesn't stop her from being a useful member of a team, with the right player at the keyboard of course. Her dimensional rift portals are also incredibly handy for swift repositions and unexpected flanks, or getting out of a sticky situation. Many Wraiths are brilliant at getting down teammates to safety using her portal. Even with Wraith's hitbox getting some tweaks to make her a bit easier to hit, Wraith is still a formidable opponent on the battlefield. Although you might not see many pick this legend in public lobbies, Gibraltar is the most picked legend in the Apex Global series, for good reason. Despite his massive hitbox and the fact that it feels like he runs through trigger when you move, even though he runs at the same speed as everyone else, bar Octane, his abilities are invaluable for a successful squad. Chibi mains can get a lot of slack initially, but once they prove their worth, they can be an absolute lifesaver with so many defensive abilities. His gun shield passive ability adds a bit of extra to his shields on top of his damage reducing fortified boost, and his dome of protection tactical ability is one of the best tacticals in the game. Want to make a risky rotation? Want to push an enemy squad but you don't have cover? Want to resurrect a teammate? Want to scan a survey beacon without getting sniped? Gibraltar's bubble is perfect for all those situations. Placing one down can lead to a bubble fight, which entails players shuffling in and out of the area. Shotguns are best for these fights, so check out our Apex Legends gun tier list to find the best choices on this run. And that's before we come to his ultimate ability, which could really put a stop to an opponent's push or force enemies into cover. Gibraltar really has great kit, but you might need to practice with him for a bit to get the hang of his hitbox and movement. Ashe was recently released in Season 11. Though she's one of the newer legends, she is already one of the most useful. Her kit is partly inspired by her Ronin class Titan in Titanfall 2, but comes across like a mix of Wraith and Watson with a splash of Bloodhound for good measure. Her one-way portal provides interesting rotation options, and the arc snare acts as a Watsonified caustic trap. Seriously, Ashe combines some of the best aspects of multiple legends. If you play as Ashe, or have an Ashe on your team, your confidence boosts as you know that your team will have a good chance of dominating the match. However, it can be very unnerving to come up against a rival Ashe. At that point, all you can do is run and hide. New for Season 13, it's a little too early to properly rate Newcastle and his abilities right now, but we're confident in his placement in the A tier of the Apex tier list. Though he's billed as a defender with abilities similar to Gibraltar, Newcastle feels more like an alternative to a support/healer like Lifeline as it stands, or somewhere between the two. His shield capabilities and resurrect boons put him in an awkward middle ground. He won't heal the team like Lifeline, but he'll pick up allies like her. He can shield allies well, but he won't be able to offer a retreat like with Gibraltar's ultimate. All in all, Newcastle leans into a very specific playstyle. He's a defensive option with more mobility and fewer damage options, and is good for holding out in longer battles and defending against attackers, but he is not a great initiator, and once his skills fall, he'll run out of ways to finish the fight. Season 12 finally brought Salvo's Mad Maggie to Apex Legends. The excitement surrounding her introduction to the games has been rewarded. Sometimes, a brand new legend isn't always one of the best in the game, however. Mad Maggie is one of the rare few, though, that have been introduced with an absolute bang. All of her abilities add up to make her one of the most deadly legends in the game at the moment. There is nowhere to hide from her passive ability of Warlord's Ire. If Maggie has already shot you and hurt you, she can track you down to finish you off. Also, she can move faster than anyone else while carrying shotguns. Her tactical ability, Riot Drill, also means that hiding is pretty much impossible if she knows where you are. This drill can attach to any obstacle and burn any of the enemies on the other side. This does also include Gibraltar's Dome Shield. As we said before, it's extremely hard to hide from Mad Maggie. Finally, her ultimate ability may just be a gigantic grenade, but it's a powerful gigantic grenade. Once it's unleashed, the Wrecking Ball will keep rolling and detonate near enemy enemies it finds. As it rolls, it leaves speed boosters behind it that anyone on Maggie's team can use. This means you can catch up to any enemies who try to run away from the giant explosive ball. All in all, Mad Maggie is shaping up to be one of the best legends in the game. After spending plenty of time getting to know Seer, his abilities, strengths, weaknesses and more, we can say that he's definitely in the top spot, if not top 3. Despite a recent nerf, Seer is incredibly strong with his passive ability combining multiple Legends tacticals into one that doesn't even need to recharge. His abilities offer recon in a similar manner to Bloodhound, but he can't detect players moving at a regular walking speed, only if they run. Revenant is undoubtedly the scariest looking legend in the game, and his abilities finally live up to his terrifying aura. His Death Totem ultimate ability can be incredibly useful when combined with Octane's jump pad, but wherever the team's camping out the totem to pounce when you're sent back in a weakened state. His silence can be useful for denying opponents' abilities, and it also has an unintended effect of obscuring vision like a flashbang. His passive climbing received a huge buff in Season 9, however, allowing him to climb to heights never seen before. Not only is this ability useful, but it's quite unsettling for other players to watch, with Revenant scuttling up walls like some kind of nightmare spider. His climb is very loud, however, and will alert all nearby enemies to your presence, so don't expect a surprise attack. One of the latest legends being added to the game, Valkyrie, is seeing a lot of use by players as they continue to figure out where she fits into the overall meta. A solid scout, Valk excels at finding opponents by using her hidden passive ability, which highlights opponents on the map when you're flying through the sky. This isn't quite as powerful as Bloodhound's scans. Valkyrie must have line of sight to enemies to scan them, but this is a useful ability for a character who spends most of her time in the air. Her VTOL jets are useful for getting over obstacles or taking high ground, but Valkyrie's best trait is her ultimate ability, which allows her to strategically reposition your entire squad at will. She can be a bit of a sitting duck as she launches herself into the air, however. Unfortunately, her missile swarm is a little bit too slow to be effective, working to flush enemy squads out of certain areas rather than actually damaging them. Lifeline had an interesting change in Season 9. She lost the shield that protects allies when they're being revived, but D.O.C can reset automatically now. It also aids her when she uses her tactical ability, healing you over time. However, opponents can also utilise D.O.C to heal themselves too. Lifeline's care package also got a rework, so it should provide items that are more useful to your squad based on what you're actually carrying. However, she still can't call in care package weapons, so it has limited usability. Using one of these care packages is a great way to trap enemies. Use your ultimate but don't loot it, and then find a hide spot and wait. Originally, Pathfinder was a common pick in Apex Legends play during the first few months, but subsequent nerfs over time have adversely impacted his usability. However, his movement is still really useful if you spend enough time learning how to make the most of his little tricks. Also, his ultimate can be used to get a team out of a sticky situation or to ambush another team. You should never underestimate the power of having a zipline appear at the perfect time. Since we're talking about movement, let's introduce the fastest character in the game. Octane is an incredibly popular character at the moment, favoured by those who love rushing into fights and tackling opponents head-on. Unfortunately, this can also lead to Octane mains getting a bad name, being viewed more as solo players rather than a team. His stim ability has received some nerfs, but that only serves to make him an even more high-risk, high-reward character. He's very difficult to hit when running so fast, and his passive Swiftman does go some way to rejuvenating him after one too many stims. His launch pad also makes for great rotations or exciting pushes. Great twinned up, however, with the Revenant Totem, because this can create some incredibly tactical but awesome plays, and his ultimate is a great one to combine with any of the offensive characters. While seeing loot through walls and being able to set up the black market boutique will help you get the loadout you want, the latter can also aid clever enemies. Loba saw her first ever esports play during the Apex Legends Global Series Championship, proving incredibly useful for teams to grab shield swaps or pocket a bunch of grenades ahead of a big push. Loba's most powerful is her tactical ability, which allows her to instantly teleport wherever she can throw a bracelet. Since being fixed in Season 9, it's a lot more accurate and fails less often, making it useful for a quick reposition or a surprise flank. Crypto was one of our lower ranking legends, but the buffs he's received since Season 12 have boosted him up to this spot. When Crypto first arrived on the scene, he was an extremely useful legend. You simply couldn't hide from him or his drone, and now it seems that is the case once again. You can now view the game state through the HUD of the drone and see important details such as where the ring is, pings, and your current team status. This has instantly reduced how vulnerable Crypto is while he's using his drone. Granted, enemies still can shoot you, but you'll be definitely more aware of your surroundings. His Duralink has also got a huge buff at the start of Season 12. The field of view of his passive ability has been increased from 160 degrees to a whopping 240 degrees. This benefits the whole team as well as Crypto. Teammates can see anything that the Neuralink picks up, so it's a great way to scope out enemies and plan attacks. The only thing you should be wary of is the health of Crypto's drone has been reduced from 60 to 50. Caustic thrives in close quarter engagements. His multiple gas traps and ultimate Nox gas grenade deal good damage up close. In Season 12 it did bring in some changes for this legend, and the traps were now able to be destroyed after they've been detonated. This can of course reduce their effectiveness against enemy squads. Also, any detonated Nox gas traps will expire after 11 seconds, which is significantly shorter than the previous 12.5 seconds. Caustic did also take some severe hits to his abilities in Season 8, increasing charge times and decreasing the damage of his gas. Now enemies can comfortably stand in and see through his gas without suffering too much damage. He still has some utility when defending a position, but the nerfs to his gas damage make Caustic much less useful than in the past. Despite this, he's incredibly powerful in close quarters and in buildings. Is Fuse good now? Season 10 gave old Fusey a major buff, adding an extra Knuckle Cluster to his stack, and highlighting enemies caught in his ultimate Ring of Fire. Fuse had entered the Apex games with a bang, but unfortunately his kit wasn't just up to the standard. However, all that might have changed with the addition of some minor wall hacks to his ultimate. Yeeting grenades to oblivion is always fun, but it does come with its own drawbacks, mostly not being able to loop a grenade to explode on impact. Carrying 2 grenades per slot is nice, but hardly a huge buff. His Knuckle Cluster still does very little damage, but it sticks to opponents, and his ultimate ability causes minor damage and stun, combined with this new highlight, and it can give you an edge in a fight. Rampart got a huge buff in her town takeover event, which allows her to carry Sheila around. This makes her a walking sentry turret, and she can beam whole squads with ease. The only drawback is she can't reload when carrying it, making it a single-use weapon. However, it's still a pretty strong buff. Horizon's abilities have proven to be solid on the battlefield, making her a top choice among Apex Legends players. However, a serious nerf reduced her powerful tactical ability to just a movement boost, rather than a portable sniper tower. It's also worth grabbing a bunch of grenades to throw after your Black Hole ultimate ability, as opponents will struggle to avoid the blasts. Although there are better options than Bangalore, a smoke launcher is excellent for escaping heavy pressure from enemies. On top of that, our ultimate is useful if you can gather a bunch of enemies in a close space, or if you want to leave some space between you and them to escape. However, the Rolling Thunder does a fraction of the damage that Gibraltar's defensive bombardment does, and gives enemies plenty of time to clear the area. A decreased cooldown in Season 6 doesn't help it out a lot either, and the reduced fuse time in Season 7 wasn't enough for her, unfortunately. Make sure you're kitted out with digital threats, so you can see through your own smoke, or keep a Bloodhound on your team to scan opponents after you've smoked them. Bangalore's a useful starting legend, but once you got the ropes, it's probably best to move on. Mirage had some good works for Season 7, and combined with previous boosts, he's a pretty good character. Unfortunately, he gets bumped out to B tier due to more solid characters placing in higher tiers. His upgrades include better cloaking when downed, respawning and reviving teammates, and his decoys also last longer and look more convincing. They're able to mimic his movements. And his ultimate is similar to the limited time emergency dance party ability. To also help his decoys seem more real, they now carry 45 HP each, and this should help disguise the real Mirage more easily, though they won't shield him or his teammates, bullets will simply pass through them. Watson has felt like she's been on a decline as of late, with her pick rates dropping and her uses feeling few and far between. Her fences don't feel as offensive as they once did, and Watson mains are hoping for a buff sometime soon. Respawn's Daniel Klein, however, feels she's in a strong place and has a high win rate, even teasing that she might be in for a nerf in what we originally thought was Season 10, but it now looks otherwise. Unfortunately, Respawn did her absolutely dirty with a recent buff to one of her emotes, allowing her to place more Nessies on the battlefield, which is great, but it hardly helps in battle. And there's our Apex Legends tier list for Apex Legends Season 13. Let us know what you think in the comments, and keep an eye out for more gaming content.